You don't even have any sound, and I've just been talking this whole time. That's my that's my fault. Like I said, what you guys didn't hear me say is it's a typical day for me, having all kinds of technical issues. I don't know what's happening. When I hit my mouse, all of these different things pop up, and it's not popping up with what it's supposed to pop up. So hopefully I won't have any problem playing a couple videos. What I was also saying is happy Independence Day to all. You guys saw my little happy birthday America Trump dance at the beginning of the show before things went even more haywire. And I was also saying good morning, Rob, Linda, Karen. Thank you, Rob, for letting me know that I did not have any sound because I had no idea. And I muted myself when I was trying to work out whatever bug that was and forgot to take it off. Again, not unlike myself. And what I was also saying, of course, is I was out yesterday because I had an important assignment to take care of. And next week, I plan to be here Monday. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I'm 99.9% sure I'll be here Monday. I will not be here Tuesday. There'll be no show on Tuesday because I have a very, very important another project that I'm working on, and I cannot disclose the details, is what I was explaining. A lot of the work we do is very secretive. That is to protect other people, and hopefully, maybe I can talk about it on Wednesday because it is quite exciting, and I'll only be able to give very limited details even then, but at least something. Good morning, Sherry. Good to see you too, and good that you guys can hear me now. Darn it, Linda says switch to X because I couldn't hear. Yeah, Linda, it's just me. It's not you. It's not Facebook. It's just me. Typical Friday. And it is a typical Friday, and I'm kind of glad. I have been so busy. I don't know about you guys. I have been so busy. I'm not ready for 4th of July. I can't even believe it is July. I still feel like it should be April. I have not had time. I've only been outside a couple times. I've been trying to get out in my garden. It's so far behind out there. It's not even funny. But I'm better off this year in my garden than I was last year. So there are some positives to that, but I still have so much more to do, which is probably where I'll be spending my weekend. Good morning, Jimmy. I will be spending my weekend in the garden. My son's has a couple friends coming over tonight. My brother's here. Of course, my mom's going to be around, my niece. We're going to shoot off some fireworks, hopefully, not get arrested for doing so. And we're going to barbecue today. So we'll see how all that goes. Not till later today after it cools off. It's going to be really hot. If you guys have plans, please, please, please be safe. I know because I've had a mishap once with a firework. I know how dangerous they can be. So please be safe. Kimberly, happy birthday. Oh, I said happy birthday, America. You're saying happy Independence Day, America. Yes, Kimberly, absolutely. What a beautiful and glorious day. My many times great grandfather, Bradley Hassell, fought in the Revolutionary War. And it's so crazy to me because, look where we are now. Of course, there's some bad, but we're in a place right now today where it's mostly all good. We couldn't say the same thing last year when it was mostly all bad. And so we've got a lot to be thankful for this Independence Day, of course, with Donald Trump being our president. I don't agree with everything he does. I don't have to tell you guys that. But I'll tell you what, are in a far better place than what we were. As you guys know, the one big beautiful bill passing. I wasn't here yesterday to be able to talk about that. That Donald Trump is going to sign that today at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central. It'll be a momentous occasion. And I have mixed thoughts on the one big beautiful bill, but that's okay. Like any bill before it, there's always going to be parts we don't like. There's always going to be parts we don't like. And but the only thing that I guess I don't understand about this particular one big beautiful bill is there shouldn't be any parts we don't like. I mean, we have the majority. It didn't matter that every single Democrat and one Republican voted against it. We still won. So why couldn't the one big beautiful bill just been 100% everything we wanted and nothing that the Democrats wanted? I don't understand how some Democrat policies got mixed in. The only thing I can expect is that there's probably a lot of Republicans who, while we call them Republicans, as we know, are not really Republicans. And they probably wanted to throw in some of these different things about continuing gender affirming care for minors, something that should absolutely not be part of the bill. Yes, we're going to be about $5 trillion more in debt, a little less than 5 trillion. But my personal philosophy in life is that you have to spend money to make money. And Donald Trump is a fantastic businessman. And I am guessing that that is what he's banking on, literally banking on, is that you have to spend money to make money. And we'll see. That's all we can do with anything these days is wait it out and see. We have no choice. There's nothing we can say, there's nothing we can do about it. I would love light to have seen the one big beautiful bill be a little bit more big and beautiful, for us, or as Elon Musk said, I can't remember what did he call it, thin and pretty, something like that. But we'll figure it out as the days go by. Something though that did surprise me. Oh, thank you, Kimberly. I have, from when I was in Georgia getting out the vote for Donald Trump, I had all of these patriotic shirts and shorts that I took with me. And so this is one of the shirts I wore every day, different, I changed them every day, different America shirts. So today we've got a lot to celebrate, no question about it. And good morning, Karen. Hopefully, you guys have some fantastic plans today as well. I probably won't watch the signing today just because I have so many other things to do. Today's still a work day for me. I've got work to do. But I bought, here's something I'm going to tell you guys about. I bought a 3D printer. I have never once owned a 3D printer. I was up till midnight last night, a little late after midnight, putting it together, and it's enormous. It's like this gigantic uh, 3D printer that takes up my entire dining room table. I just put it up in there just to kind of see how it looked. I haven't printed anything yet, but I'm going to be printing a lot of stuff, a lot of patriotic type of products. So we'll see how that goes. Some of you know I talked about it last week. I'm opening up an online store that's going to have these patriotic products as well as some auction items that my mom has had for many years, plus new things I've bought. We'll talk about that more as the time moves on, of course. Good morning, Larry. Thank you, Larry. I hope you're having a good morning. Good morning, Stacy. Stacy says, Happy Original No Kings Day. You got that right. Good morning, Allison. Happy to see you. Happy Independence Day, won by civilians with guns. You got that right, Allison. And you know what? We may be doing it again. Don't think we're not out of the woods yet. We may be doing it again because we know, even though we may not agree with every single thing Donald Trump does, we know that Democrats want him out. He shared a post actually of one of the Democrats, I can't remember which one, sitting outside on the steps, there at the Capitol building with his head in his hands, like, oh my gosh, we've lost. Yeah, you've lost. You've definitely lost. And what's so funny about that is how do Democrats react? This is why I'm going to show you the video first, and we're going to talk about this. And I'm only going to play a couple of seconds of it because it's the most annoying thing you will ever see in your life. It is the most annoying thing. I've been having some problems with my buttons this morning. So I hope that the buttons that this presses, I'm going to do my best. Let's see. Or maybe not. It just brings up Wikipedia when I do that. I don't know why my buttons aren't working. I'm going to keep trying. We'll see if we can get it up. Okay, so if I can get rid of my Wikipedia here, I don't know why when I press my video button, you guys can't see it, but on my end, it brings up Wikipedia. And so I'm going to continue to try to close that out. I don't know if I'll be able to or not. But as you can see, Democrats, what do they do? We're all fighting for our independence and happy on this beautiful 4th of July. I can't get the Wikipedia to close, but that's okay. And what I'd like to know is how did Democrats become so incredibly annoying? Because all the videos we have of them, they're screaming and acting crazy. And so this is their form of protest today in New York City, is they're just going to stand out on the street corners and scream all day. It makes no sense. And I mean, why would you do that? Your poor throat. Can you imagine the pain they're going to be feeling later today after screaming all day? but then they might be used to it because they probably scream a lot all the time. I consider them the party, of a heavy emotion. No critical thinking, all 100% emotion. That they just react with emotion, and it's unwarranted emotion. And then the mental health aspects of what's going on in the Democrat Party just completely blow my mind. It completely blow my mind. And they probably say the same thing about us. I'm still trying to close the Wikipedia page so I can see everything else, but I don't know if I'm able to get it closed or not. Don't know what is happening today. Why my computer is acting crazy. It's not the first time. Maybe I can just move the Wikipedia page away. How about that? There we go. Oh no, now it's the whole page. All right. Well, that's not good. I will work on that. But either way, I Democrats have lost their minds. That's all there is to it. And of course, today is Free America Day. So you're going to have potentially Democrats and around your various cities who are going to be protesting Independence Day because they want to free America. And I have never felt so free, quite honestly. I have never felt so free. And these people have no idea what they don't even understand what oppression is what's so crazy about it. They have no idea what oppression is. And I apologize that if I seem distracted while I'm talking and I can't see anything, all I can see is the dictionary and I don't Wikipedia and I have no idea why and I don't know how to get it out of here. Oh, and I just keep making it bigger, so nothing I'm pressing is helping. But I guess you guys can see me and hear me. Maybe I won't be able to play videos or hear anything or see anything, but that's okay. Because you know what? I've got it all right here on my phone, so it doesn't really matter. So as you guys know, planning a signing ceremony for the one big beautiful bill today. And again, like I said earlier, part of the plan is that we are going to this number might seem astronomical. Our plan is to this is only step number 1 to deport up to it's hard to believe that we have 20 million deportations in place. We have 200 active duty Marines heading to Florida right now to assist in deportation efforts, to assist ICE. And we know we have alligator Alcatraz, of course, taking place there in the Everglades. And I mean, think about that 20 million people. What an effort that is. I don't know if you guys agree, if you don't agree. And until I get this big screen off my screen, I can't see your comments either way. And I'm trying. Oh, I almost got it. If I press two buttons together, maybe it'll work. But the life of podcasting, right? Oh well, at least I can see your comments now. Uh, John Mitchell, good morning to you. No King's Day. It's the real No King's Day, that's for sure. So, what does deporting 20 million illegals look like? 20 million illegals. And I was trying to kind of read through it because the way it read was 20 million criminal illegals. However, criminal can also mean that you've obviously entered this country illegally, so therefore you are a criminal. I don't know that it means there's actually 20 million people in our country who have committed serious crimes and therefore they are criminals that are being deported. And I was watching a video this morning. I'm not going to share it, and I wouldn't be able to anyway because I can't even see that half my screen. But I was watching somebody from the Catholic Charities today give an interview and a priest, and he was saying, we shouldn't be deporting people. It's wrong. And then the reporter was like, well, what about criminals? Do you support keeping criminals in this country, criminals who've committed some very serious crimes? And the guy was like, well, if we were just deporting criminals it would be fine, but that's not what we're doing. We're intentionally trying to put fear into the people other fear into people who are here illegally. Okay, but they committed an illegal act by being here illegally. That's why they're called illegals. And I get it. There's a lot of people in this country who are hardworking, who are good people, who are in our country for the right reasons, but you're still here illegally. You still went about it the wrong way. And as we start heading through July and into August, as I said the other day, those deportations are going to step up. There's always been a 3, phase process. Number one, tackling the most violent of the criminal illegals that are here in our country. That's phase one. And we're still working on that. It's going to take a while to get all those people out. While we're in phase one, we're starting on phase two, which is telling people to self deport. Self deport now. And if you self deport now, we won't have to physically come and get you and deport you. We'll allow you that time to get your affairs in order. Then, if you don't self deport, then we're going to start fining you $1,000 a day. And then eventually, when we have time, after we get all these bad criminals out, we're going to come for you too. And that time is coming. And I know earlier in the year, there was at the time, it was not necessarily credible, but there was a hotline number that was being passed around on social media. And it said, if you know somebody who's here illegally, contact ICE, and it gives you the number and the website and all this stuff. And what happened in that situation is that that is actually part of the plan. But that's the last phase of the plan, not at the beginning. And I think somebody leaked that information out. But at some point down the road, if they continue in the same direction that they originally planned, there will be a hotline where you can call and report people who are here illegally. And whether you agree with that or not, I'm kind of iffy on that. It does kind of remind me of Holocaust times, when we had people, snitching on their neighbors, and we know what happened. But this is very different. We cannot compare this to the Holocaust, and people are going to do that. And we cannot allow that to happen. This is a different situation. This has nothing to do with ethnicity, has nothing to do with religion, because the people who are deported, many of them are very white. They're Ukrainians, they're people from all these different countries are also being deported. It is not just Hispanics and Latinos, as people would have you to believe. It's not. So don't think that. And I know you guys don't, but there are plenty of people who do. And let's see. Good morning, Glenn. Happy 250th birthday to all. Good morning, Elizabeth. Happy 4th of July to you as well. And Glenn says Catholic Charities contributed to the border invasion by supporting the illegals and give them some work visas. You're right, Glenn, and I am Catholic, but I'll tell you what, I do not support Catholic Charities because they are one of the biggest instigators in everything that has taken place. And what, this is hard for me to say, being Catholic myself, but raised Catholic. I don't attend a Catholic church any longer, but being raised Catholic is that Catholic Charities could do some really fantastic things. They really could. They raise millions of dollars, I would say billions of dollars every single year. And they chose to use those funds not on Americans. Trust me, if you go knock on the door of Catholic Charities, they will help Americans to a degree. They might give you $200 to go pay a utility bill or something like that if you're elderly or having a hardship, but they are not going to pay your housing or your tuition or give you food and all these other things. They don't do that for Americans, but they do it for illegals. And when I was watching this interview play out, I was thinking in my head, okay, well, Catholic Charities is responsible for placing a lot of these unaccompanied minors into homes. And these children are now missing. Now, I'm not implicating, the Catholic Church for being any part, of those children, becoming missing. But I am going to say that, the responsibility was in their hands. And they stopped doing the DNA testing, of course, under Joe Biden. And now we have no idea where these kids are. Almost 400,000 children in this country, and we have no clue where any of these kids are. And of course, Donald Trump, he does do the DNA testing. Sorry, I'm getting all kinds of weird pop-ups on my system. If anything happens and it goes down, we'll start over. And in Glenn, as far as giving them work visas, I know that Donald Trump does have a problem. A solution to the problem. Donald Trump has a solution to the problem, and he's talked about that recently, where he is going to try to place farm, workers, illegals that work at farms, illegals that work at construction sites, and there was one other industry that I don't recall right now that he was also talking about. So these three industries, oh, hotels, the illegals that work at hotels. He wants to protect those three industries. So if you're an illegal and you work at a hotel, if you work on a farm, if you work in construction, he very well may come up with this plan to give them work visas. So that way, yes, they are technically, they entered the country illegally, but they are not here illegally any longer and they can continue their work in construction. You guys probably recall in Florida, we had DeSantis, who, oh, I think my button might be working. No, maybe not. DeSantis said that, in the construction industry across Florida, he was not going to allow illegals to work in construction anymore. Then we saw these construction projects just sitting, and I'll be the first to tell you that Americans just don't want to do the work. And I'm sorry, but it is true. Americans are lazy. A certain set of the American population is lazy. I know. I feel bad saying that, but it's true. They don't want to get out and work. They don't want to go work at the farms. They don't want to work at the hotels. They don't want to work construction. They don't want to do anything physical or anything that might be below their means. And so, therefore, I don't know what they're doing to survive, quite honestly, because if you're an American, the government's not paying for you to sit home and do nothing. So, how are you surviving? I don't know. I really don't, but people continue to. Thank you, guys, hotels. And then Kimberly said, same, I'm Catholic, but I don't support the Catholic charities. Exactly, exactly. And good morning, Dottie. Hope you're doing well this morning. So we'll see how all that plays out, but mass deportations are happening. I don't know if I can play this video or if I'm going to take a chance playing it, how Democrats are reacting to these deportations. And it just goes to show the mindset. I'm going to try. I'm not going to try too hard since I'm having some technical issues. We'll see what happens if I can play it or not.
I quit. I'm done. I'm done with America. I'm done with taxes. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm going to cash out like Monopoly and go and hide and move somewhere. You're telling me that my tax dollars are going to build an Alcatraz, Auschwitz, alligator Auschwitz, alligator Alcatraz Auschwitz. I don't even know what you want to call it. A detention center, a concentration camp in Florida that our tax money is paying for. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I can't feed the system that is doing everything that I stand against. I didn't vote for this. I didn't vote for any of this. I'm done playing the game. I want a tree and a farm and land and somewhere else.
Okay, well, I didn't vote. I didn't vote for our government to insist that schools, schools for children, very young children, have to force um, people to, little girls to allow little boys in the shower. I didn't vote for that. I didn't vote for males to compete in female athletics. There's a lot of things I didn't vote for either. I certainly didn't vote for my bank to ask me every time I make a transaction over a certain, a couple $100 to ask me where my money goes. That happened to me. Even the other day, it happened to me. And I think Donald Trump should place some restrictions on banks. So if you're withdrawing money, that's your money. It is not the government's business. It's not the bank's business what you do with the money you made. I called the other day to make a transaction. It was over the phone too. And the lady at the bank, she's like, well, can I ask you, what's this money for? And I was polite. I like my bank and I explained that I'm buying some auction items. And she's like, oh, it's not your business though. I would never say that to her, but it is not your business what I'm spending my money on. It's I didn't vote for that either. And good luck, see you later, good riddance. If you don't like this country and you didn't vote for it, there's a lot of other options. You can walk straight on over the border into Canada. You can walk straight over the border into Mexico. There's a lot of places you can go if you don't like this great country. And exactly, Glenn. Glenn didn't vote for open borders. And Kimberly said the working generation is getting older and younger ones are too pampered and feel entitled. I know, I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Pam says we have challenges finding blue collar workers big time. You're 100% right, Pam. I've worked in recruiting for many years. I hire people in security and other industries. And I'll tell you what, it is not easy. And then let's say you hire 10 people. I would say my odds are about 3 of those people don't show up. They're supposed to show up for their first day of work and they don't show up. 3 out of 10. And maybe the number could actually be higher than that. But I find the average about 3 out of 10. And I know, just from people in my life that I know, people just don't want to work. I don't understand it. I don't get the feeling of entitlement. I don't know where it came from. I was brought up when I was 15 years old. My parents told me, "You have to get a job. If you want to buy clothing, then you have to work and pay for it." When I was 15, I did. I went out, I got a job. I lived in Chicago. My friend, her dad was a window installer, and his big client was Burger King. And I was 15 years old. My friend and I both, she was 15 also. We went and got a job at Burger King. And I'll tell you what, fast food working was very different back then than what it is now. Back then it was a starter job. It's what you did when you were in high school or out of high school and to make some money, because back then when you were in high school you had to work, right? At least I did. Most of my friends did. When we were in high school, we had to have jobs. But I'll tell you what, working at that Burger King taught me an invaluable lesson, about working, about earning money. And not only that, but dealing with customers, dealing with clients, customer service, counting money. I went to a store not too long ago and handed somebody cash. They gave me back this crazy combination of money. And I'm like, what is happening? Uh, I don't know what's going on in society. We know that our government has tried to dumb us down. We know that they want these kids to sit at home and not do the job. But the problem is the kids who feel entitled, who don't want to work, who didn't get those jobs in high school. Well, guess what? They're growing up to be adults now. Now they're in their 20s and 30s, approaching 40s, and they still don't want to work. And then what happens? Again, I have no idea how these people are surviving, quite honestly, because they're not getting the handouts we're giving to the illegals. Pam says 3 weeks, 4 interviews set up. Not, let's see here, not one person showed up for their interview. I want to report them to unemployment. And you should. You should report them. That's exactly what's happening. And Pam, I'm fearful for our society. Who is going to do the work? When all of us people who work so hard are no longer able to work. And trust me, I'm not talking about stay-at-home mothers. That is a bigger job than any job I've ever done. I always worked when my son was little, because I had to. I didn't have a choice. And my son's father and I, we separated when my son was, I think, 6, 7, something like that, maybe 8, and I don't even remember. I had no choice but to work. In fact, I worked 3 jobs when my son was young to make sure that I provided for him anything I possibly could, and still work very hard to provide for my son who works part-time and needs to get a full-time job, if anyone has a job for him. And Andrew says, started with 1 child left behind. I remember those days, Andrew. I really do, with no child left behind. I can't see today. I said 1 child. I'm glad it's Friday because I need a Saturday and I need a Sunday. And yes, no child left behind. I remember those days when my son was young and they started that no spanking and all these zero tolerance policies, and everybody just became a big sissy. Now, I am so thankful my son is a conservative, big Trump supporter. He knows what's going on out in the world. But I'll tell you, some of these kids worry me. They do. And again, growing up to be adults, we're in a lot of trouble, people. We're in a lot of trouble going forward. Think about this. Why is it that we have so many foreign doctors? It's because there are so many Americans who can never make it that far, who don't even desire or want to go to school to become a doctor. Same with IT. Years ago, I recruited in IT. And I'll tell you, it was mostly people from other countries that came in with these skills, but that's because our government wants us dumb. And also, it has a lot to do with money, because I'm going to read you some statistics here that you may already know. But think about this. I cannot talk to, we subsidize, if I can say it right, subsidize the tuition for illegals, not for Americans. If you're an American, particularly a white male, good luck getting any kind of student grants or anything else to help you out in school. However, if you come into this country illegally, think about this. These are facts. These are facts I'm going to read to you. 500,000 undocumented students attend United States universities. 2/3 of them, 300,000, receive taxpayer subsidized tuition. Think about that. 300,000 illegals, people who are in our country illegally are getting subsidized tuition. Your kid can't get it, can they? But these people can. 23 states, including, and let's say, well, 24 technically. Washington, D.C. is not really a state, but 23 states and Washington, D.C. offer full in state tuition to illegals. Missouri is not one of those states. 8 additional states offer university assistance to illegals. Good morning, Bill. And so, how do you feel about that? Do you think that there's a purpose behind illegals coming into our country and we're educating them? Our government, your tax dollars are paying for the education of people who are here illegally. I don't agree with that. I absolutely do not agree with it. And I'll tell you, my son, who is a white male, good luck. Again, he's not going to be able to go down to the school and get some kind of a grant, or any assistance. Illegals that come in our country, our government under Joe Biden, they were giving them $25,000 in cash, literally cash, to buy a business. No one's going to give my son $25,000 in cash to go buy a business. He might be able to take out a business loan if he can prove he's worthy of that business loan, but no one's going to give it to him. So it is no wonder people are taking over in this country. Kim says, my girls can't get any help. Exactly, Kim. Exactly. Good morning, Abe. Happy 4th of July. Big, beautiful Bill Day. And Bill Robinson says happy 4th of July to all. And Dave Akers, good morning to you. It costs $1 million to become a dentist. My youngest is trying to work her way through college to be a PA. She will be buried in debt for life. I agree, Dave. I've told this story before. My son's father, Darren, he passed away from COVID. I think most of you probably know that by now. And he was an attorney. And I remember when we were young and, he first started going to school, and tuition was, a big problem. We really struggled, when he was going to school. And I was taking some classes at the same time. We were both also working full time. It was crazy. And then, then he went off and, went to law school. And when he passed away, I don't know, what his original student debt was. I think it was about $260,000 from what I saw in his papers after he passed away. But when he passed away, he had been paying like $1,200, $1,500 a month towards his student loans. And he still owed almost the entire amount. Isn't that crazy? When he passed away at the age of 54, he still owed almost the entire amount. And you just never can get those debts paid off. And and while he was a county prosecutor out in Mississippi County, Missouri, and I'll tell you what, he made good money, but it was never enough really to get ahead. And that's what's so sad about these situations is you can earn, $200,000 a year, but when you have this $300,000 debt hanging over your head for tuition, how do you ever get ahead? And then, just like our homes and real estate taxes, property taxes, it's the same situation. You can pay off your house, but guess what? It doesn't really matter because of the interest rates, the insurance rates. You never get ahead. It doesn't matter if you pay off your house or not. As a matter of fact, yesterday it was the saddest thing. My son had a blowout on his tire. And so I had to stop work. I had to go out to where he was. And we had his car. It was actually his dad's car. He was driving his dad's truck yesterday. And we had it towed to Walmart because I live in a rural area. There are no tire shops anywhere near me, none at all. The only thing we have in this area is Walmart for at least 40 miles probably around. So we had the truck towed to Walmart. When I went inside to talk to the guy about getting a tire put on, my son had to leave for work, so I took care of it. There was a little man up there, and he was a couple people ahead of me, but I could hear him talking, and he was buying a battery. And he said, I have to buy this battery because I have to have a vehicle. But now I don't, that's my food allowance, for the next 2 weeks. And I felt so bad for him. And then he said he was kind of joking. He's, got plenty of food. He's got kids and things like that. I'm like, man, I should jump in and buy this battery for this poor guy. But that's what our elderly people are facing right now. And you know what? You don't even have to be elderly. Anyone, I'm sure we've all struggled at different times for different reasons. And, you know, there, but yet we're just handing out everything to illegals. You're going to work today Well, you might be off work today, you might be at work today. I have to work today. 75 cents of every dollar of my dollars today is going to go to taxes. Where do those taxes go? A good portion is going to, of course, feed, clothe, educate, treat healthcare wise, all of these illegals in our country. So yes, I am angry about it. I'm probably talking about it way more than I normally would, but it is very frustrating to me. Andrew says, "Yep, we took out a home equity loan to pay off my wife's student loan. She paid on it forever and still owed 20 grand." I know, Andrew, our government works against us. They work against us. You can never really get ahead. You just can't. And, it's a tough situation, I know, for a lot of Americans who are struggling, and I understand the frustration of Americans that you're working so hard to feed your family, take care of your family, but you just never get ahead. But see, that's what the government wants. And Trump, of course, has only been in office for a couple months, not even an entire year, so we got a long way to go. There's been some really fantastic things happening. The big beautiful bill, of course, has a lot of amazing things that we all did vote for. A couple of things we didn't vote for, but mostly things we did vote for. So we're just going to have to wait it out, trust the process, hope that it affects us in a better way. We have a lot of states who are trying to get rid of income taxes, a lot of states talking about getting rid of property taxes. We'll see if that happens. I don't expect it to. Florida, of course, leading the pack with wanting to get rid of personal property taxes as well as income taxes. So we'll see how that works out. That I think we'll all flock and move to Florida when it does. But in the meantime, you know what? We just got to wait it out, be patient, hope it happens. I'm glad to hear that the big, beautiful bill, at least there's no taxation now, of course, on Social Security. That's been the case already in Illinois, but in so many other states, you were taxed on Social Security. So that's a positive. A lot of people upset, of course, that it makes cuts to Medicaid for Americans, but not cuts to Medicaid for illegals. How that happened when we have a majority, I will never know. I still don't understand how, when we're a majority, that we don't write the big, beautiful bill to have nothing but perfection. I don't get it. The Democrats shouldn't have anything in on that at all. And Dave says, "Look what broke Illinois. Spent on illegals 2.5 billion over the last 3 years." I'll tell you what. I moved to Illinois because you can get a bigger house for the money, but you're paying more taxes. So in the end, if you think about the difference between buying a house in Missouri and buying a house in Illinois, your daily life is where you live. So I can buy a much larger house in Illinois than I can in Missouri. Now, when you average out the taxes in Missouri, you're going to pay a lot more for the house, so your mortgage payment's going to be higher. Now, here in Illinois, you pay less, so your mortgage payment is going to be less, but your taxes are more. So in the end, you're paying the same price, but you get a bigger house in Illinois. And trust me, I did the math and I did the research, which is why I moved to Illinois. Plus, you can buy acreage a lot cheaper in Illinois than you can in Missouri. But I'll tell you what, my taxes per month living here in Illinois is about $1,600 a month just in taxes. And it's absolutely ridiculous. And it keeps going higher. It might actually, well, let me take that back. It might actually be a lot more than that now that I think about it. I don't remember. I'll have to go back and look. It could be closer to $2,000 a month. I should probably know these things, but it's absolutely outrageous one way or the other. But I don't know if you guys saw this. Dallas becomes the very first city in the United States to ban socialism. I don't know if you guys heard about this or not. And I thought that was a pretty crazy story. And, they have their mayor, of course, Eric Johnson. He said, "We value free enterprise, law and order, and our first responders. Common sense and the American dream still reside here. We have all your big city comforts and conveniences without the suffocating vice grip of government bureaucrats." Now, don't you wish every city would say the same thing? Dallas will never be a sanctuary city. Dallas has banned socialism. It's not coming there. We need to say that everywhere. We see what's going on in New York with Mom Donnie. We've talked about this many times recently, and we'll probably talk about it a whole lot more because that guy is going to do everything he can to institute socialism in New York City. And we know that there's people like Mom Donnie all across the country waiting in the wings, ready to win that next election. Democrats, they may have lost out for the most part this year. in the coming years with Donald Trump and us, of course, having a majority. However, they're still working behind the scenes. They're still doing everything they can to get ahead. And don't think that they're not waiting and that they don't have candidates to step up into place. I don't know how we're going to fight it. I don't know how we're going to fight socialism, but we have to. And Allison says, I would rather live in a smaller home and live in Missouri. Taxes cheaper, gas cheaper, more freedom. And Allison, yes and no. I agree with you 1,000 times over. And I do miss living in Missouri, quite honestly. I guess since I'm from Chicago, a move to Illinois isn't as crazy for me as it is for some of you. And I'm way out near Effingham, Illinois. So I'm pretty far away. And, I have about 6 acres here, which I really like. 6 acres in West County, where I lived, or even out in St. Charles County. No, I think Allison, you probably live in Washington County. So it is very free in Washington, Jefferson counties. But what was happening to me is that, and I've talked about it before. I'd lived in St. Louis City at one point. My family moved to West County when I was 16. And then we, as an adult, I had moved out to St. Louis City. I've lived in the Clayton area. When COVID hit, I left Clayton and I went out to St. Charles County thinking that it would be a little bit better out there, a little more freedom away from Lord Sam Page. And then I found out, guess what? Even out in St. Charles County, things are pretty darn liberal. All my neighbors were liberal, every single one of them. I was the only person on my entire street that had an American flag. And it was awful. I hated living there. I absolutely hated it. I lived in Wing Haven and those people over there were crazy. And so I left. And you know what? Believe it or not, where I live now, even though it's in the state of Illinois, I would say this is definitely Trump country. I would say the entire town, except for maybe a handful of people, are 100% conservative. And most of Illinois is actually more conservative than much of Missouri these days. But the problem is we have Chicago and the taxes are for Chicago. And I know a lot of people talk about, well, let's secede from Chicago. And I'll tell you what, during, COVID, when all these towns were locking down, a lot of the counties in Southern Illinois and out here where I live, they never had a lockdown. So, there are some things, the good and the bad. Missouri is a much more beautiful state. The state of Illinois is not that pretty. And we have, of course, a complete communist for our governor. What can we do, right? What can we do about that? So you guys probably saw that Donald Trump, of course, said he spoke to Putin yesterday, and did not go well. I'm a little concerned about this situation because, we just Donald Trump made a statement yesterday that we are not supplying weapons to Ukraine. That has ended. However, there's also a lot of people talking about how we may start sending them Patriot missile defense systems. And a lot of those people, meaning and Donald Trump. So he made a statement last week that Zelensky wants Patriot missile systems and maybe we'll send them. But then, of course, yesterday he said, oh, we're not sending weapons to Ukraine right now. And it kind of worries me that what happens is that when he gets upset with Putin, that could turn around and him saying, "Okay, you know how Donald Trump is. He's very impulsive." And I'm not saying it's not a good way or a good decision, but he is very impulsive. And the same thing that makes other countries fear him is also the same reason where sometimes I get a little bit nervous because you just don't know what he's going to do. I am very worried that Donald Trump wants peace. We know that. That's his number one goal is peace in the Middle East because I think he sees it as again, the legend that he leaves behind as the president and something to be written in the history books that for once somebody was able to create peace in the Middle East. And so he's worked very hard on that, as we know. Now, he wants very badly to solve the situation between Ukraine and Russia. I know he wants that honor of creating peace between these two countries, but neither of these leaders want peace. He said the call with Putin didn't go well. Putin's probably thinking, all right, you're talking about sending Patriot missile systems into Ukraine. We have France and Britain talking about sending troops into Ukraine. And so I'm sure probably things didn't go well with Putin. In fact, yesterday, overnight, Putin unleashed I lost my headset, but I guess it doesn't matter because I can't hear out of it anyway. Today, I'm having with my technical issues. But either way, Putin released the biggest barrage of weaponry onto Ukraine overnight. And I don't know if it's because of that call or if there's other things going on in that situation. We know Donald Trump wants to create peace between those two countries. I am very concerned that if the call didn't go well with Putin, that he might say, okay, well, Putin, if you're not ready to work out a peacetime deal, we're going to side with Ukraine. We're going to begin arming them again, and then we're going to defeat you. I hope that doesn't happen. I don't know that he would play those hardball games with Putin like he did with Iran. I just don't know. And now we hear that there's the Bunker Buster Act. I'm not sure if you guys heard about this Bunker Buster Act, but the Congress is proposing the Bunker Buster Act to send B 52 bombers into Israel and allow Israel to use our bombers and our bunker buster missiles to defend themselves. Not an act of war. They're not going to rush over to Israel and drop these bunker busters. But the problem is that we know Iran has said we are going to continue our nuclear program. In fact, they withdrew from any type of reporting for their nuclear capabilities. So now we don't even have that reporting aspect. They are not going to have any inspections at all. They withdrew. And it's a very serious situation, which we're probably going to hear a lot about over the coming days. And now I think that Trump's line of thinking is that, well, we can't be there all the time. We can't send our troops all the time with our B 52 bombers and our other, let's say, Mary, and we might as well just give these planes and give these missiles to or bombs to Israel and let them take care of it themselves down the road. Sorry, there's all kinds of weird stuff. I'm just not having a good time show today because there's all kinds of weird junk popping up on my screen. Wikipedia keeps popping up and I'm like, what is happening here? Mary says was on the news how St. Charles is lib and Illinois tries like hell to get rid of Prickster. If it weren't for Chicago, most of the state is red at voting time. Even St. Clair County has more registered Republicans than Dems, but they don't get out to vote. You're absolutely correct, Mary. And I think Pritzker lost by what was it? Was it 11%? I can't remember. It was either 4% or 11% because I know Gavin Newsom lost by either 11% or 4%. I don't recall which one was which, but I'll tell you what, it was very close. There's more Republicans in California than we would generally believe, and far more in Illinois. Because outside of Cook County, I know Dave said the state of Cook County. Outside of Cook County, it is definitely conservative in the state of Illinois. The state of Illinois. So, part of that Bunker Buster Act, we would supply Israel with B 2 radar evading bombers, B 52 bombers, and 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs. So, we'll see how that works. It's a joint proposal from both Democrats and Republicans, very likely to pass. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I personally don't have a problem with it. If I would rather us supply the bombers and the bunker buster bombs to Israel and let them take care of their own business. I don't want to see us do what we just did and jump into the middle of it. I think that puts us at risk. And for me, it's a risk I really just don't want to take. And so I don't know how you guys feel about that. And, it's kind of funny, Mary, that you're talking about St. Charles County. We were just talking about it being liberal. Somebody told me yesterday that ICE is going to be in St. Charles County for the next several days conducting missions looking for criminal illegals. And I was laughing because I'm like, well, they need to head over to Chimichangas in St. Peters, Missouri, because I don't know if you guys were, and no, I did not call in a tip, by the way. These people are probably long gone from there. But I think you guys have heard probably the story before that I was having dinner there when I had planned and assisted with having this dinner, not a dinner, but a rally for Eric Greitens. It was a really big, fun event that took place out there. It's that I can't recall what the name of the music place. And after that, our group went over to Chimichangas and we were there hanging out. And all of a sudden, they wanted us to leave. And we're like, what is going on? They're not waiting on us. They brought us their bill. There was like a girl in the back, like hitting her fist at her hand, like looking at us. We're like, what in the world is happening? And it was because, of course, we had our Trump stuff with us. We were talking about Donald Trump. We were talking about the upcoming election and all these other different things. And we couldn't figure out what was happening because we weren't done yet. The manager came over and he's like, yeah, you got to go. And we're like, well, what is happening? Why is this waitress, shaking her fist at us? And he said, well, and he was very nice. He goes, well, they're all illegal. they're here in the country illegally and they hate Donald Trump. And so you have to leave. So they made our party leave. And thank you, Glenn. Diamond Music Hall. I feel like I've had like a stroke or something today. Normally, I'm really good at remembering. Today, I can't remember a darn thing. Probably because I can't talk about it right now, but I have a big project this coming week. And I think my brain is like mush yesterday from working out the details and going through everything I need to do next week. Hopefully, be able to talk to you guys about it on Wednesday. Because again, I will not be here on Tuesday because I will be out on this special assignment. I do plan to be here on Monday unless something else changes. So thank you for Glenn for reminding me. Well, that's pretty much all I guess I have to talk about today, and my time is running out. I had some other videos I wanted to show you, but unfortunately, my system is not working that well, so I won't be able to do that. But we're going to see the big, beautiful bill signed today by Donald Trump, 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, a momentous occasion. I can't believe it. It's Independence Day, finally. Happy 250th birthday to America. And I'll tell you what, I feel like we've all fought so hard to get where we are now. Sometimes it's hard to remember what we all went through over the past 4 years and all the strategizing and the planning that we did to finally get here. And here we are, and I'm doing my best to appreciate the big, beautiful bill for what it is. There are so many fantastic things within that big, beautiful bill, and we do need to celebrate it. I know there's some things in there I didn't want. I don't like the spending. I try to remind myself you have to spend money to make money. That's how it works in personal life. It probably how it works when you're running the country as well. And Dottie says 249th birthday. Am I ahead a year? All right, guys. Well, that's pretty much it for me today. I do hope that you guys have a really fantastic weekend. Had planned to talk about a couple more things, but my system is not cooperating at all, and I'm kind of afraid at any minute now it's just going to bloop out and end. There's Wikipedia flashing on my screen, and I don't know why, and all kinds of other. What's so funny is I think my computer can hear me because it keeps coming up to the Wikipedia page that says job. It's either trying to give me a hint or it is haunted and give me hints or it's listening to my words because we were talking earlier about jobs. But either way, I hope you guys have a great Independence Day. Hope you have a great weekend. Please be safe out there. Stay away from those crazy Democrats who are going to have their protests today all across the United States called Free America. I don't know what they want, but I can guarantee you it's not what we want. But anyway, either way, I'm Tabitha Hassell with Tabs on Tap. I will see you all on Monday.